Hello and welcome back to part 2 of this series on Dragon Ball Z, the role-playing game. Picking up where we last left off, I was going over Initiative. Initiative is done much in the same fashion as a typical Dungeons & Dragons game, where you just roll a d20, and whoever gets the highest result wins. Only difference now is you would also add the mental stat to the d20. And that's pretty much the only difference. There is a way to manipulate the mental stat in this game, but I'll go over that in a little bit. Before I do, there was something I forgot to go over in the last video, which I probably should have went over, is where all these numbers come from. How do you create a character? It's actually a very simple process. All you need is a two-sided dice. You designate one dice as the hundreds value and the other dice as the tens value, and you roll up to 5 times until you're happy with whatever results you find out of those 5 rolls. With this character, I was lucky enough to roll 2 6s, which is the highest you can get, so his power level is 660. And to get the power up stat, it's just you divide the power level by 2, and it gives you that number. And to get your hit points, you multiply your power level by 1.5, and it gives you that number. As for characteristics and skills, it's done the same way as the rules in this game. You get 40 points to distribute to your characteristics, and you get 50 points to distribute to your skills. This is just the total result when you add this characteristic to the whatever corresponding skill. Everything else, the background, this is all just extra stuff. What species you are, your personality, history, sticks. Signature moves I'll be going over in a little bit. Excuse me. Pretty much when you start off a character, you want to start off with at least two signature moves. One being a melee attack and one being an energy attack. You can learn up to a total of 7 signature moves. And you can also add various energy manipulations to your new signature moves. This depends on the GM and how the game is playing out, depending on who's your master, who's training you and whatnot. Moving on. The next page, this is your ranged weapons. Sorry about this, the lighting in here. The sun is starting to go down. You got your ranged weapons. This is the range on them, and this is the range in meters. Every square is considered to be 2 meters. So every movement, one move is 2 meters. This is the damage for all the ranged weapons. You got bow and arrow, spear, gun, which is pistols, big guns, shotguns, really big guns, assault rifles. Huge guns would be Gatling guns and stuff like that. Cannon, and so on and so forth. Obviously, ranged weapons don't do a lot of damage in DBZ, so these won't be doing much damage when you use them. Now, there is a critical miss and critical system in this game. When you roll to attack with your 3d6s and you roll 3 1s, that is a critical miss. So something terribly bad could end up happening if you do that, depending on the GM and how nice he is. Rolling a d20 or rolling a 20 on your damage roll for melee is a critical hit. So with a critical hit, something big happens, obviously, and you deal double damage, and the damage can't be resisted. So that's a big thing right there. When you shoot an enemy point blank range with an energy attack, that energy attack cannot be resisted if it connects. They can still dodge it, but if they get hit with it, they won't be able to resist it. So Moving on. Creating signature moves. Okay. Sorry about the lighting again. Pretty much... Oops. Somebody fell. Okay. You start the game with only 2 signature attacks, 1 physical attack and 1 energy attack. Signature moves can only be used once per 5 rounds. After using one, it can no longer be used again for the duration of that combat. So every 5 rounds, you're able to gain access to using one of your signature moves. But once you use it, that's it. You can't use that signature move again until the end of the combat. This pretty much prevents players from cheesing other players by just doing Kamehameha, 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 and so on and so forth. When using a melee signature move, you roll an extra 3d20 to the damage of the attack. And when using an energy attack signature move, let's say you shot an energy attack that did 3d 100 damage. Instead of doing 3d 100 damage, it will do twice that. So it'll be 6d 100 damage for the price of 3d 100. So it's always doubled whenever it's a signature attack. Now, this is probably the main nitty-gritty of the game. The multipliers. This is my multiplier table. This is what balances the game as far as what power level you are, how things change. So at the beginning, from power level 1 through 1000, your damage just is multiplied by 1, so it just does whatever the damage it is. Same thing with resisting. The cost of energy attacks or anything that costs usually 100 goes up to is 100 at the beginning. Then anything that's usually costs 10 at the beginning. Then you notice as it goes on, this is pretty much how it increases. So it goes 1 through 1000, 1001 through 5000, 5001 through 10,000, 10,001 through 15k, 15k to 20k, to 20,001 to 25k, 25,001, and so on and so forth. Increases starts off 1, then 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4. This follows the same format. For the costs, increases to 500. Then it usually increases by another 500 every tier. This one increases, it goes up to 50, then increases another 50 every tier, and so on and so forth, all the way up to $100,000. So 100,000 looks like that, times 11, times 11. 10,000 cost for energy attack. 1,000 cost for something like boosting your mental or your speed. And then I go on to the different tiers. 950 to 1 mil be times 110. 110 is basically multiplies by another 10 per tier. So 9.5 mil to 10 mil is times 1100. 95 mil to 100 mil is times 11,000. The next one will be 110,000, and so on and so forth. If you're wondering what's happens in between, like what's 101k to 150k, how does this change? What does this turn into? Well, you just go back to the page before that. And it'll be this one right here, but you move the decimal point 1 to the right. So instead of the multiplier being 11, Instead of the multiplier being 11, the next tier would be times 15. This one will also be times 15. This one would be 15,000, and this one would be 1,050, and so on and so forth. So you just got to do the math as you increase in power level. Everything moves up in tiers. But this is what ultimately keeps the game balanced. The maximum damage you can deal with an energy attack, period, is 100d 100. And the maximum damage you can put into a physical attack, a single physical attack, is 10d 20s. So you cannot exceed that. So that keeps players from being able to one-shot each other. This is the experience point table. You got points, the points multiplier per 10 XP. Normally, you use 10 experience to boost your stats in this game. So, power levels 1 through 1,000. When you boost your power level with 10 experience points, it will equal 10 points of power level. But if past 1,000 to 10,000, each 10 experience will equal to 100 points of power level. Past 10k to 100k, each 10 experience will be equal to 1,000 points, and so on and so forth. 10 experience for your skills, boosts, upgrades, it's always going to be 1. For every, you get 1 point to a skill for every 10 experience points that you get. You cannot upgrade characteristics. So you cannot upgrade these, but you can upgrade these skills right here. You may also upgrade your movement. So if you want to move faster, you can upgrade your movement. That's the only characteristic you're allowed to upgrade. And that is pretty much it as far as leveling. This is your actions list. This is pretty much the different types of actions that you are able to do every turn. Obviously, attack. Players always get 1 action per turn. So no matter what. So you can either attack, you can use your action to dodge, which it does nothing that turn, but it adds a 3d6 to your evasion roll until your next turn. So it's kind of if you want to play defensively. Get up if you get knocked prone, because there is knockback in this game. When you're knocked prone, you have to actually expend an action just to stand up. Grab. There is a grapple system in this game. If unnoticed, let's say if the enemy cannot sense your power level, you can grab them, and you will automatically succeed in grabbing them. And an opponent and the grabber are stunned for 1d6 turns. Every time it is the grabbed character's turn or the grabber's turn, the grabbed character rolls fighting plus combat plus 3d6, so like a regular attack roll, versus the grabber's fighting plus combat 3d6. If the grabbed character wins, he or she breaks free from the grab. If the grabber wins, the grabbed character remains grabbed. If noticed, so if you try to grab somebody while that person is aware of you, the grabber must roll a fighting plus combat plus 3d6 to grab, while the opponent rolls evasion plus combat plus 3d6 in response. So it's like a typical attack and a typical evade. And that's pretty much it for grapples. Pretty much the main thing you want to do for grabbing somebody is you want to be able to, it's kind of like if you want to do the whole thing where Goku grabbed Raditz while Piccolo shot him with the special beam cannon. So it's just for moments like that where you're in dire need of kind of cheesing the opponent. Also, another thing to note, when grappled, the character that is grabbed cannot evade an attack that they get hit with. They can resist it, but they can't evade it. Move. In this game, you can either move half your movement for free, so it won't cost an action. Or you can move your entire movement, which costs an action. Or you can spend up to 10 energy, depending on the multiplier, to boost your move stat by 2, to multiply it by 2. So if you want to like move faster, across the field, you can do that. Throw, this is only if you grab somebody. Throw what you are grabbing, including an enemy, roll melee damage. This cannot be evaded. It's basically just a regular melee attack that just automatically hits the enemy, but the enemy can still resist it. Power up to half your power level. So that's pretty much what your power up stat is, regardless. It's always going to be half your power level. If you power up and you get your power level, or the energy exceeds your power level, it never exceeds it. It'll always cap at your power level. So you can never power up higher than your power level. Boost mental. This is if you want to manipulate the initiative in this game. Let's say you, for example, you really, really, really need to go first on the next turn. You can do so by, or the next round. You can do so by using your action this round to spend 10 energy, and you boost your mental stat by 1 for every 10 energy. You can expend as much energy as you want to boost this as many times as you want. So this number will be added to your initiative roll on the following round. So it just kind of gives you an edge in getting the first attack or first preemptive strike on the next round. The last action you can do is boost. This was what I was explaining before, where if you're fighting somebody who is much stronger than you, you can boost your accuracy or your evasion times 2 at twice the cost of an energy attack. So whatever the energy attack cost is for your power level, consulting the multiplier table, you would times it by 2, and that's what this cost is. And what it does, it multiplies your fighting or your power plus combat by 2 for the next turn. So that is that for actions. Next, this is probably another pretty fun part right here. The energy manipulation. Energy manipulation is basically if you want to add different things to your your energy attacks. You want to let's say you want to be fancy with your energy attacks. You want to shoot a disc, like a destructo disc, and you want it to be homing to heat seek on your enemy. You can do that, but everything has a difficulty value number or a target number that you must roll with the 3d6s in order to when you roll to that attack. So normally when you roll an energy attack, you would roll the 3d6s normally, right? But now, if you want to add an energy manipulation to it, you would add the target number of the energy manipulation. Well, not add, but you would have to obtain. So let's say, for example, you want to make your energy attack homing. So when you do this, the attack cannot be evaded. So if you want to do that, you have to roll at least an 8 or higher with these 3d6s when you roll for the attack. You understand? So you can add more than one energy manipulation to the energy manipulation, but of course, it's going to increase the target number. So that's the cost for homing. It's target number plus 8. Steer is when you do like the spirit ball attack with like Yamcha, and you manually steer the energy attack around a corner or terrain or something. Like say you want to hide behind something, like you want to hide behind this mountain or something and shoot an energy attack that goes up and over and hit somebody. You can do that, but you have to get a 5 or higher with the 3d6s. Area of effect. You want to add, let's say you want to add a blast radius to the attack. You can do that. Target number plus 1 per 2 meters, so per square. per square. Rapid fire. Fire multiple energy blasts in one action. May target other enemies as well. Target number +3 per extra blast. So the damage of this attack, it cannot be. I mean, let's say you shoot a 3D 100 energy attack. That 3D 100 energy attack must be split if you are using rapid fire. So if you want to turn that 3D 100 into 3 blasts, it would be, each blast would deal 1D 100. Or if you want it to be 2 blasts, each blast will deal, oh yeah, I suppose that would be kind of difficult to, I'm gonna have to think that one through more. But I would say just round it up, I guess. So it'd be 2D 100 for 2 blasts. Each blast will do 2D 100. Maybe. We'll see. I gotta go over that one again. Pretty much if you want to add a deadly effect, so like let's say you want to do a Destructo Disc or shoot the beam laser that Frieza does, that's +8. So if you want, and if you hit with this, the attack cannot be resisted. So if you want an attack that cannot be resisted and cannot be evaded, you can do that. But it's 8 + 8, so you'll have to get a 16 out of 3d6, which is the highest you can roll is 18. So it's very unlikely that you'll succeed.